I actually called Nike. I kept calling Nike, and I got through to Phil Knight's office. The receptionist answered the phone, and she was like, "Who is this?" And I was like, "Tell Phil it's his next $1 million man."
Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the place that breaks down the X's and O's of the sneaker business and beyond. I'm Dwayne Lawrence.
I'm Omar Bailey.
And today we are joined with a very special guest. I am honored to have him on the show today. I have to give him a proper introduction, and the only way I know how is like this. So, from Chicago, Illinois. This brother started off designing shoes when he was in high school. He's worked with your favorite street ballers. He's worked with your favorite big men and other NBA players. He's the first brother to go to the moon. Ladies and gentlemen, Dallas Stokes. Stokes.
That was amazing.
If I'd have known I was going to get that intro out of War of the Rings.
Damn, you got the rings?
He got me like 6 rings, all 6 rings.
Man. Oh, I love
nice
that.
box, too.
Yeah,
I love
it was
that.
all counterfeit knockoff rings. In that
See,
you can
I
get
look
in China.
good on Instagram.
But they look real. Look, listen, they look real.
We'll cut that out. We'll cut that part out.
You gotta send us the photo though. Send us the photo. We'll put it in. Yeah, no. All jokes aside, I've gotten to know this brother over the last 3 years, but I feel like I've known him forever.
Well, we've been beefing for a while.
But apparently we've been beefing for 20, almost 20 years. We'll get into that later. But this guy is one of the pioneers, especially from a standpoint of a black designer in the footwear space. Dallas is, the inspiration to your inspiration.
Yeah.
And so I'm just honored to have you on the show. I'm honored to have had the chance to get to know you over the last few years, and us working onto together.
Same here.
I don't know. I just know what else to say. It's just like you're one of my heroes and one of the reasons why I do this, man. For real.
Same here.
Well, I got something I got something I want to say too, man. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you on here as well. And I just shared this story with you when we saw each other about a month or so ago, and I'm going to share it on again so everyone can hear it. And in 1993 or 94. I was in a grocery store with my mom, and this was right around the time, I was about 10, 11 years old, and I was in, and this is when like I started drawing sneakers, and a lot of it was due to the fact that there was a lot of kids getting jumped and beat up in my neighborhood for their sneakers, and that's a time that doesn't really get talked about at all right now. That shit was dangerous. And my parents being Caribbean, coming to America, like Hakeem in the movie, coming here, last thing they wanted was their kid being a victim of any of this violence. So they didn't buy me the shoes. So I started drawing them. And then as I'm drawing and I'm doing this, and I have no idea if there's how do you do it? It was just something I enjoyed doing. I just sketched and drew shoes. I had my East Bay magazine. I referenced East Bay. I would draw all my little sketches based off of what I saw. That was my only reference point. That was the only thing that I could East Bay magazine that was some kind of hint that okay, there are people out there who design these things. I just don't know who they are. So going back to that day in the grocery store, there was a Slam magazine. I always was looking at Slam every time, and my mom was like, "We can't get that. What am I buying? You think she's like, you think money grow on trees?" In her Jamaican accent. And then there was one, and I remember we were standing in line, and I grabbed the magazine and I'm flipping through, and I look, and there was this little article in the corner. It was this black gentleman on there, and there was a little paragraph, and I was reading the paragraph, and it was about you. And it was talking about your career and what you had done. I believe you were at Reebok or something like that, maybe at the time or somewhere. But it was like a profile on you. But that was such an incredible moment for me because that was like the window that like verified that like this is real. Like there's a dude out there is doing it and he looks like me. Like I just have to figure out how to find that path that he got on to get to where he's at. So that gave me all the hope in the world when I saw that, and I made her buy me that Slam magazine, and I just read that little paragraph over and over and over again. I was trying to find it, like searching all over the internet, see if I could find it like before we did this today, but to no avail. But maybe one of these days I will. And but anyway, I wanted to share that story with you, man. And it's a pleasure to be sitting across from you and actually get to spend some time together, and hopefully we'll continue to do that too over as we evolve from this point on.
Yeah, it's funny that sparked you, but then my mentor, E. Scott Morris, it was the same thing for me.
Yeah,
he was in Slam, and I opened up the Slam, and I saw him. And at that time, though, I was working for a company that was working with Reebok, so they put me in touch with him, and he actually is the one who helped start me to really honing the craft and getting into it. So. Yeah, it was the same reaction.
Yeah.
For me, I was just like blown away because I was like, wow, this dude is doing it and he looks like me. And you know, he used to have a Reebok logo tattooed in his head.
E. Scott's wild.
Yeah, E. Scott.
Shout out to E. Scott. We love you,
Shout out
E.
to E, man. Love E, man.
Yeah.
Love you. Always full of energy, man. Always got a huge smile on his face, man. I just saw him over the summer, man, and always love being around that dude, man.
If you've met E, you don't forget E. That's it.
Telling you.
Yeah. So that's a good place to start. Like, how you got into this footwear business. I read or saw somewhere that you actually started designing, like I said before, that you were in high school.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, we used to have everybody used to airbrush on the clothes and the shoes and stuff. So I was doing a lot of airbrushing and getting paid like to do that. And so somebody one day asked me, can you draw a shoe? Because I was always drawing the Jordan that was on the picture that I was airbrushing.
Yeah.
So I sat down and I started scribbling a little bit back and forth here and there. Then I had a drafting class and they wanted me to draw rooms and houses. And I was just like, no, I'm not doing that. So I drafted a double airbag. I'll never forget a double airbag Nike shoe called the Air Flight Shabazz for Scottie Pippen.
Wow.
And I had Pippen on there, I had the shoe on there, and they put it up in the art room because they couldn't put it in the drafting room. So, and a couple of guys from a company from Chicago called Ballin came to my school.
I remember Ballin.
And they basically saw the drawing, and they waited around for me for a couple of days after school. And I thought I did something wrong. I thought I was in trouble. And they were just like, nah, we want you to draw stuff for us,
Yeah.
So I started off in apparel long before I ever got into footwear. So it was just graphics. Sam Cassell was actually the first athlete I ever worked with.
Wow. What year was this?
Don't get me started. 92 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, but he had a camp that Ballin sponsored. So I drew the camp shirts for Ballin. So that was actually my first professional gig in the business.
And Sam was in Houston. They were winning championships, right, at that point? Was that right before?
I think he was in Milwaukee or something. I don't know. Don't quote me on that one.
Okay.
But he wasn't a champion yet.
Not yet. That was like maybe a few years later. Yeah. That's dope, man. That's real cool. So but you said that footwear sketch or that shoe sketch landed you like a sort of an apparel gig first.
Yeah.
So okay, gotcha. That's dope.
And then how did you flip that? What'd you flip that into? Like, how long did the Ballin experience last, and what'd you flip that into?
Ballin was the end of my junior year of high school and my senior year of high school, and then over the summer, I went to work at Nike Town, Chicago. They didn't even have an opening. And this cat named Stuart Nishikawa, he was the manager of the store at the time. He made an opening for me in the stock room so that I could, get closer to my dream. Because I went in there with my little mini portfolio, and he was like, "We don't do that." He's like, "But come back, I'll get you a job." So I came back. He put me in the stock room, and I would constantly get in trouble for drawing while I was supposed to be shipping shoes upstairs.
Yeah.
It's a common theme.
Yep.
Yes. I was getting in trouble for that. And then I would send my stuff in, and I would get the rejection letters, which was the first one was really crushing.
Sending them to like Nike and these others?
I would send it just to Nike.
Yeah. Okay. Just to Nike. Yeah.
I was working at Nike. I thought I'll work in the stock room this week.
Yeah. So what was crushing about the letters?
It was the first, they were years apart, the letters, but the first one was, it was more of I was younger and I really thought I could do it. I really knew that I just wanted to do this.
Yeah.
So when you get that orange square letter,
I know that orange square.
Oh man, it was crazy. So I actually called Nike, and I kept calling Nike, and I got through to Phil Knight's office. And
Damn, that's the persistence. I love it.
Oh, that's how I actually ended up getting in. No, so I called Phil's office, and the receptionist answered the phone, and she was like, "Who is this?" And I was like, "Tell Phil this is next $1 million man." All my children, he answered the phone, and when he answered the phone, yes, I went into this long spill, and he was just like, "I don't do the hiring, right?" And I was just like, "Oh," he's like, "But you got to go to school."
So then what do you do?
It was like, you can call somebody, you can do something,
No, I left it at that because I was like, if they won't let me do it, then I'm going to call Reebok.
Yeah.
So at the time, I had only the balling thing and the Nike Town thing. So I called up Reebok, same thing, just kept going through people, got to Paul Fireman, who was in charge at that time.
So hold on. So you call Phil Knight.
Yeah.
You're 18 or 19 or something? 17.
18, yeah.
I'm going to just call Phil Knight.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, I'm calling Paul Fireman.
Yeah.
Yep. I love the persistence. I mean, that's incredible. I mean,
I needed a job.
Yeah, man. Well, it is a little disappointing that the Phil Knight thing didn't go a little bit further. And the reason why I bring that up is like, especially as like a founder of like a company now that's like, raised capital and all this stuff and everything. And knowing what it took like for Phil Knight to build Nike. And even at this point, it was only like, probably not even 20 years yet that like Nike is like been around. Like he's still a lot closer to like how he started this thing than where he is right now.
True.
So like, I would figure he would appreciate somebody getting through to get to him like that and hearing the determination and like this persistence to wanting to make your dream come true. It's a little disappointing that he wasn't a little bit more helpful, but to your credit, you still stayed the course and was like, I'm going to figure this shit out regardless.
Yeah, I think in two, I was a kid and I sounded like a kid.
Yeah.
And I probably during my rant said kid.
And he probably had heard that before. He probably heard that I'm your next $1 million man before.
Yeah, but but how many kids is getting through on the phone to him? Like my first thought was like, how the fuck did this kid like figure this out? Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm just anyway, that's just like that bothers me a little bit. But but you know what? Everything happens for a reason.
Hey, he flipped it to Paul.
Yeah.
Went from Phil to Paul.
Paul told me I got a guy. He did what you're saying. Paul said, I got a guy in Denver. His name is Chris Christmas. He does a lot of work for us with Shaq and blacktop tennis. And it was we were all doing apparel.
Chris Christmas is wild. That's a wild name. Sorry, continue.
No, that's his actual name.
That's a wild name.
It is on his paperwork. Yeah. So he gave me Chris's number. I think I called Chris every single day for a month straight until finally his wife was like, either you hire him, I'm killing both of you. So I turned 18 and I got on a plane to Denver and I started working with Chris on apparel stuff, and I would draw my shoes, and Chris and Rob Purvey and those guys were like, you got to meet E. Scott Morris. Okay. So that's when they shifted me to E. Scott.
Yeah.
And from there, the apprenticeship started, and I was able to learn, how to start getting into this business properly.
Right. And did you know who E. Scott was before you met him?
Yeah, I had read that article, but I didn't know him personally.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So what was that like when you first walked in the room and met E?
No, we were over the phone.
Oh, it was over the phone.
Yeah,
okay. So what was that to be incredible too?
Yeah.
Though? What was that like?
It was real cool because he was doing what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So like with that being said, it was just like the mentor, and anybody that knows E is his mentoring starts from the first word.
Yep.
Now, whether you take it or leave it,
It's up to you.
it's up to you. But his mentoring, he's 100% invested in you.
Yep.
From the first word. So it was incredible. So much to the point that I was able to take his advice and things of that nature and flip it into my first full footwear gig within like a few years, which was Puma.
That's incredible. I don't think I've ever gone into E's office or space or whatever, not knowing what I want to do and left still not knowing. I always left knowing, okay, got it. I got the name for it. I got exactly how I'm going to execute it, build it, everything.
Yeah. And that's his strength he builds.
Yeah.
So if you listen, it's like, and I took that with me after him. And so one of the guys that works with me now, he used to hit me up on the internet and things of that nature, my guy Matt. And I would teach him how to draw, just sending him back and forth internet. Well, it was him and about 10 other kids that I had spent my time in. But the problem is when I send them pictures, I'd get back proportions would look crazy, and they weren't following, simple things. I even drew the silhouette of the shoe and put where the midsole line is, and the midsole line is here, and I'm getting It's like, this is not a cradle, dude. Like, it's like,
so when he send you stuff, what are you guys using to send stuff back and forth?
Just the draw. It was just drawings back and forth.
Okay.
And he would critique them and, that sort of thing. And then I actually got a chance to fly out there and meet him and hang out with him and when we were all in Massachusetts, because I had ended up getting a job at Puma.
Okay.
Was it Puma? Yeah, that was Puma. Because Vince Carter was coming in.
Okay.
So that was part of the reason why I was able to get the job, because they wanted someone that they felt could relate to Vince.
Gotcha.
And as soon as I got there, he left and went to Nike.
God damn. Damn.
So,
wow.
Yeah, so that was a short employment.
Yeah.
So I left there and went to Adidas.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hold on. I want to back up for a second because I think I know where Dwayne was going with that question that he asked you because he told me about this yesterday when we were getting ready to sort of to chat with you today. And when he asked about the documents on back and forth with E. Scott, I think he was asking more like how you sent these documents back and forth, because he was telling me about fax machines and all kinds of. I haven't heard the word fax machine in years. Is that's what you guys are doing?
Dial up. So he was teaching you on dial up.
Teaching me on dial-up.
That's crazy.
Dial-up.
That's crazy. So for the kids out there who don't know what a fax machine is, it was this piece of equipment that was pretty large, that was connected to your phone line. And when you wanted to send someone a message, you put the piece of paper in there, and then it dialed up the phone number, and then it sent it to the person on the other end of the line who had the same exact machine. That was how it was. No email, there was no text messaging, there was none of that. And that was how it worked.
And y'all was sending sketches back and forth.
And you
send
it, yeah. Wow.
And he's critiquing it, redlining it, faxing it back to you.
You know, the beauty of it too, it was more conversation too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you get a lot, you learn a lot just by listening. You know, I just said this about somebody the other day. Everybody can draw a shoe. Any artist can draw a shoe. That doesn't make you a shoe designer. I can draw a motorcycle. That doesn't make me a motorcycle designer.
Yeah.
So it's just like learning the whole process. You know, like a lot of kids send me stuff and and didn't even have stitch lines.
Yeah.
So I'd go back and I'd say, well, how are they going to make this? Think about how the layers go and how the layers on the shoe go, so you can attach stitches properly. Or if you have a we call it TPU, but if you have a piece of plastic, they call it plastic all the time, which, you know, how does that work? Like, does it work with the lines? So it was a lot of it is more conversation.
Yeah.
Even to this day, I don't sit there and redline my designers. I just say, hey, have you ever thought about, you know, maybe if that line kind of swooped up or something?
Yeah.
So you learn more actually by people, because you get to see what they're thinking as opposed to what they're drawing.
Right. Exactly.
So
exactly. Well, let's dig into that a little bit further, and go back to that first time when you made that transition from just sketching on a piece of paper to actually taking those steps to understanding like how a shoe is really developed.
Oh man.
And like whether that was like your first trip to China or before that, or making a tech pack, like when did you sort of have that like, you know, welcome to the shoe industry moment that like, yo, this is more than just drawing a dope picture on a piece of paper?
I'd have to say it was Adidas. Adidas was like, because I didn't go to college.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to Olive Harvey for like a semester, but I didn't go to industrial design school. So the first thing that was difficult for me was sectionals.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand or wrap my head around how to draw in 3D, you know, what I'm trying, in 2D.
In
you know
2D, right, in a blueprint form, like with cross sections and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and the guys on my team, they were all out of school, so they had went to school, so they're kind of like, we don't have time for this. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to learn this. So a guy named Dave Race, he actually took me under his wing and kind of showed me that and how to think about it and see it, which was the whole cut the apple in half trick.
Yep.
Yeah, so...
And that was kind of like an eye opening. Like when that happened, you were like, okay, I get it. I get it now.
I got it to a degree. It took me a good couple months though. I can't lie to you. It was and I had to get cuddled quite a bit. But once I figured it out, it got easier. Now I love doing it. I can do it in like a day or two. It's easy.
I would say Adidas was where I got more technical too.
Yeah.
Because before that, I didn't have to do any upper patterns.
Right.
But once I got to Adidas, we had to do our own upper patterns as part of the tech pack.
Yeah. Butterfly.
Yeah. Butterfly. And then that just opened my eye up to like just being more exact when you send that information over to the factory and how you could plan more upfront before they go. Yeah.
I with me now, I guess it's because like I'm so used to how things go. I think the easiest thing to do for me to get back what I want, because I don't get too detailed, just due to the fact that, you know, the factory basis I have to deal with. Like, you know, they're going to interpret things.
Right.
So I tell
God damn, that's always the worst.
Here's what we were thinking.
You're like, hold on a second. I just spent all this time on this tech pack and this is what I get back? Like, yeah. But anyway, sorry, continue. That just brought back a lot of crazy memories when you said that. Yeah.
I just try and draw as true to the last shape as I possibly can, and then let them do their interpretation. Yeah. And when I get my blueprint back and I get my shell pattern back, or I get, you know, the model back or whatever, that's when I really go in and go hard.
And really start,
Yeah, but the closer I get to the last shape, like when I draw it, it looks like a shoe. It's not like exaggerated in any way and, you know, airbrushed or lines or anything.
So that's important. So like 'cause something that you just said, and I don't want to gloss over that, like you knew what you were going to get back from China the first time. So you set it up in such a way where it's like, I just need to get back, like, I know it's not, I may as well not bother, like, give you all the details and everything, but give you enough to build me something so then I can really start designing it when I get the product back. That falls in really nicely with, like, you know, one of my favorite quotes, which is like, you know, true design starts on the factory floor. And it's like, you know, and basically what I mean by that is like when you can get your hands on stuff and start manipulating and changing and tweaking the lines and alter it, that's when you really start creating and you start seeing your design happening in 3D in front of you, whether you're literally just like mocking things up, taking tape and putting on top of it and sketching on top of the tape and really start that form. So that's a really important lesson for anyone that's listening, that like, you know, you want to start, you can start from something being 50% or less and then making it into what you need it or want it to be.
Yeah. I mean, a few tricks and things that, like, for instance, there's not many people at the factories that speak English. Yeah. Your tech pack is in English. It's going to have to get transferred over from English, which means there's going to be a loss there. Also, most factories have a standard when it comes to heights and depths and things of that nature that they've been following long before you got there. Yeah. So if you give them the general, most, you know, basic lines, they're guys that do the, you know, blueprints and everything. They can go in and do what they have to do. So I used to do very detailed tech packs and then sit there and be like, how did I get this back? Yeah. Like, I measured it all to the T. Yeah. Now it's kind of like, you better just give me something, man. Like,
we'll fix it. Just start. I'll fix it when you send me the file back.
Exactly.
Let the putty work from there. And then, you know, also if you have good developers, if you have a great relationship with your developers, I've had some great developers who have they know what I want because they've worked with me for so long.
Right.
They're able to deal with some of the headaches, pricing and costing, things of that nature, and tell me you might want to do this or you might want to do that
To achieve or get as close to what it is you're trying to create as possible. Yeah. No, that's important.
That's dope. So if I'm understanding, you went from Puma to Adidas. Is that the path?
Yeah.
After Adidas.
After Adidas, it was
You done a lot.
no. Well,
my
first
friend.
it was Too Hype, and that was
Hype.
all the Shaq stuff and
That's right. You
all of
worked with
that.
Shaq.
Yeah. Then it was Puma, and no, then it was the Olympics, the '96 Olympics.
Okay.
Then it was Puma and Adidas,
Right.
and then after Puma and Adidas, I believe, that was the N1 years.
Then you went over to N1.
Yeah, that was the N1 years. 'Cause at Adidas,
You're first in the N1, right?
Yeah, my first N1 run. Yeah.
Yeah.
What year was that for N1? That was the beginning. This was like
That was the
beginning.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that
Man,
was
I
hot
remember.
sauce,
Yep.
helicopter, all those, not helicopter, what's his name? The Half Man, Half Amazing Days.
Yep.
Set Free was
Yep.
doing all the, mixtape stuff.
Man, they had us in a chokehold with the
Yeah,
mixtapes.
N1 had us on a chokehold
Yo.
for sure.
The mixtapes, man.
And I definitely had a pair of, like, you did the two chillin', right?
Yeah.
I definitely had a pair of those slip-ons. I think
that
everybody had a
was-
pair of
that
those slip-ons.
shoe. I'll never forget. You know what was crazy about that time with N1 is like, and I'm sure you had the same experience. There was that one dude that you grew up with that was like, I had one in my neighborhood. He was just like all N1
Yeah.
all day. That was all he swore by and wore, and he was trying to put everybody on it, and that was
Yeah.
all he wore. I remember Courtney Green, man, and Courtney like he wore, and that's what it was. But man, I remember that shoe, man, so well. That was way ahead of its time, and like I remember it vividly, man. Just like the laceless slip-on
Yeah.
joint,
Yeah.
like
Definitely had a pair.
that shit was crazy. Like how did I want to dive a little bit into the N1, just a little bit, just for my selfish purposes. Like what was that experience like in creating, and then on the ground level to like, because all the companies you had worked for prior to that, I guess, were like somewhat established, right? And this was sort of a startup that was just getting going. What was that like compared to being at an established brand?
It was a lot more fun. What happened is I left Adidas and I was sitting around for about 2 weeks and just basically playing the NBA Live with Tony Parker on the cover and just like talking, fielding calls from people not taking them seriously. Because in my mind, I thought, my next step is Nike. I didn't know how hard it was to get
start.
into Nike and
Yeah.
everything. So I was just like, a couple of weeks, I'll just go down to Nike and try and get a job there.
Okay.
So,
You were in Portland at the time?
yeah, I was living in Portland.
Yeah.
Okay. And N1 was also in Portland.
No,
were Adidas.
And when
Oh.
Adidas was in Portland.
Adidas. Okay. Gotcha.
So what ended up happening was I was sitting at home and Tom, Austin, and I think Seth may have been on the call, or Drew, one or the two. They were on the call and they called me up and they go, hey, we hear that you're available and there may be an opportunity. And I'm like, yeah.
Playing video games.
So I'm starting to get annoyed because I'm trying to learn it. I'm trying to learn the game. So I stop him and I'm like, yo, dude, look, listen. All I want to do is draw shoes that me and my boys can wear that are hot and we can play basketball in that look good. And there was a silence and I'm like, and they're like, you're hired. And I was like,
Damn.
okay, well, I'm not moving to Pennsylvania. They were like, or wherever they were at the time. I think it was Pennsylvania or
Yeah, I think
Philadelphia or
yeah.
something. One or two.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not moving there. They were like, okay. I was like, and yeah.
Now you just start throwing all kinds of stuff out. They're gonna say yes to anything
else
out
can I
there. Well, I want this.
No,
Like,
at the time,
Yeah.
because I had left Denver and I had my first daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to go back to Denver and get into the nightclub business with my friends.
Okay.
So I planned to move back to Denver anyway if the Nike thing didn't work out and get into the nightclub business.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Interesting.
I'm going to move to Denver so I can be with my daughter. And they were like, okay. So
Okay.
that's how I went. And then it was funny because Adidas finally caught up with me because I wasn't speaking to them at all. I had no intention of going back. And my boss hit me up and he was like, hey, man, you want to come back and blah, blah, blah. I was like, not really, but okay. Because I didn't know what And One was. Nobody really knew. So I go back on like a Monday, I think it was, or a Thursday. I go back. He says, everybody go say hi to everybody. Tell them you're back and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, well, while I was gone, I kind of got offers. I know what I'm worth. Yeah. I can't come back for $35,000 a year.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry about it. Go say, and then come back. Go say hi to everybody. Come back. So I come back and I sit down. And this was like Thursday. I sit, or Friday or something. I sit down and he says, welcome back. Da-da-da-da. He's like, now about the money, you were making 35. Now you make 37. I was like,
wow. Wow.
I was like, where'd you get the extra $2 out of your pocket?
I could have found $2,000.
He's like, so at that moment, I knew it was like my plan to leave and go to Denver and do the And One thing was the only real choice I had.
Yeah.
So I went, and in the beginning, those years were just incredible.
It must have been chaos, like a good chaos.
It was a good chaos.
Yeah.
It really, it truly
was a startup.
was.
You were on the ground level. How many employees were there at the time? Less than 10?
No. By the time I got there, it was probably about 20 or 30. Maybe.
Okay.
They had an office similar to the size of this office. It wasn't like, but they had all these stuff in the, desks in the open area here.
Yeah.
And then the basketball court was over there.
So were they selling shoes yet at this point? Or they were just doing the T-shirts and stuff? Okay,
the original shoe, the first shoe was the one with Stephon Marbury.
That's right.
That was done by Lance Simpson. He was the guy who, one of the people that started Dada.
Right.
So he did that for them before Dada.
Yep.
And then they had...
There was a lot of issues with that shoe. Didn't like something happen and then they thought And One was over at that point? Yeah, with that Marbury shoe?
Marbury twisted his
ankle or something like that. And they were like, the company's over. Like, it's done.
What was the culture like then? Because you got the mix of street culture, hip hop, basketball, street ball. Everything is just going off the rails right now. They're dropping the mixtapes and all that. What was the work life culture at that point?
It was pretty cool. It was open. I mean, it was like a lot of freedom and flexibility, but people were very responsible and on top of the things they were supposed to do. Okay. So I think that's why we had a lot of success. I lived in Denver, so I would call and and I bought myself a fax machine, my own fax machine.
Because they were paying you more than $37,000, which was great.
So it was always something going on, always something happening. I would go down there and sit with Set Free.
Wow. Yeah.
And me and him would just talk, and he'd tell me all these things he's doing about the tours he's gonna do, and then he started implementing the tours, and it just blew up.
Exploded.
Yeah. I remember we were out at Venice Beach, and at that time I had came back here, and to go down to Venice Beach, you'd have thought like Michael Jackson or somebody was down there.
Yeah.
It was we had to go into a house that they had rented and go on the roof
just to watch the game.
Just to watch the game. But I wasn't even really watching the game. I was just watching the crowd. Like, this is insane.
And this was like pre like internet, right? So like the way that they were distributing these tapes was through the retail stores.
VHS.
So that's how VHS tapes, like they basically like mixtapes into the retail store, and they were selling them, right? I remember it was like, I think it was like $6 or $10.
They were actually supposed to be free, and then somebody.
So I was like, yo, we can sell these. I know I definitely paid for them and bought them, and you'd watch them. But that was just thinking about like how like now like Instagram and this, and it's just instant, like the thing, like you gotta record it, then get it on the tapes, then you need to make the tapes, then get it out, and then like
you had to be here, had to be there type of experience.
But what most people didn't know about And One was they were already putting out actual audio mixtapes before the visual even started. They were flooding the streets with their mixtape, because that was back in the. You had to have a dope mixtape.
Right. Yep. Who was some of the artists?
Lantern and all that.
Okay.
When they had their mixtapes. So it was basically they would get with like one of the big DJs, like a Clue or somebody.
DJ Clue, something like that,
Yeah, and they would do these mixtapes that they distributed, up the East Coast.
And this was all Set Free that was coming up with these ideas?
That was Set Free.
Okay.
Yeah, Set Free he was the man behind basically everything you saw, pretty much everything you saw executed was Set.
Was him.
Yeah, that was Free was all day. Free
That's
still
dope.
going too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still
Who
going.
was your favorite athlete at that time? And one
Sauce.
athlete? Sauce.
Yeah.
Sauce.
Hot Sauce was the man, bro.
Sauce come to town. Sauce
was
stay in my
nice,
house.
bro. Oh, for real? You stay at your house?
Sauce, yes. Sauce was my guy, man. Headache. I loved Headache too because Headache was, he was very. He was just real cool. He was to the point and everything. He was very business minded. But Sauce was definitely my guy. Like, I moved down to Atlanta for a bit of time, and I used to hang out with him down there as well. So
Yep.
So what was your biggest takeaway from that experience?
Marketing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Powerful thing
Yeah.
when it works.
Yeah.
And you execute right. Yeah.
And when the culture of the marketing fits the product as well as the consumer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is very important. I think a lot of companies miss that.
Yeah.
Because they start with the culture with the shoe first.
Yeah.
So they do their briefs and their stuff, and then they have these names and these stories.
Yeah.
And they put the shoe out there, and the consumer is just like, I don't care about purple flying dragons.
Well, that starts from the top down, right? So shout out to the founders who empowered, whether it's yourself and Set Free and whoever else was around to and actually listen to you,
Right.
and execute it, right? Versus how many times have we seen it? Like even some of these big CEOs at these companies that we've all either been a part of and worked for, and they're the ones trying to make these decisions, and it completely goes in the wrong direction, and it's all done wrong, and it looks terrible. So shout out to those dudes for listening to the guys who had their ear to the street and understood how to make this thing go.
Well, I think it's so overlooked that it can't just be product all the time.
No.
It's not always just the product. Like even in the last episode, we were talking about the D-Wade story. We call it the perfect storm. All these things had to come together. Like Converse had to be on the revival. D-Wade had to be a name other than LeBron and Carmelo to pique people's interest. Because, and then the shoe had to be cool, but the marketing also had to be cool. All these things had to come together at the right time. And a lot of times when something doesn't succeed in the marketplace, it's like, well, we go back to the design. A lot of times they always go back to the design.
Right.
Whatever you had anything to do with it, whether you spec whatever, it goes back to the design. And it's like, well, was that the best? Did we word the ad spot the best way we could possibly word it? Did we tell the best story? Did we leave with the best colorway? There's so many other factors that go into it. So I think when you in one word, you're like marketing. Like that's what drove and one. Yeah. And it's not that the product wasn't there, but it's like it just was an admission that I do product, but it's everything is gonna has to be taken into account.
Yeah. And I think what helps too is that the guys that started that brand were true to respecting the culture, and they played basketball every day, all the time. I never got a sense from dealing with either, Tom, Drew, or any of those guys that this was somebody trying to just get paid,
Just
off
make
of
money off of,
right.
Yeah. They were really in it.
Yeah, and I think what companies have lost sight of, because once Nike does something, everybody tries to
Everyone
do that.
tries to replicate,
So when Nike decided we're going to steer away from the culture and go back to our roots of being a performance company, a lot of companies were lost because you had a lot of people that left there that went to other companies. So when they saw that, they started steering companies toward that. And when you do that, the shoe becomes the statement of your brand, of your company. That's not how it works. You're selling a movement. If you can't sell a movement, if you can't get people to buy into you and your product, all you have is a shoe on the shelf.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of shifting things, and one actually shifted Nike into the Battlegrounds ad and all that stuff. It was like, oh, we're doing all this hero ball, and hero stories so much. Like, wait, we got to get back into the handles and all this other stuff.
I mean, Nike was literally knocking off and one commercials. I saw that. Literally knocking them off, right?
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was doing the same thing. So
my boy
great
Future
point.
started that commercial off.
It was dope though.
It was fire. It was fire.
That's what's up.
That's just the reality, and that's the reality of where we are now, because so many people that aren't part of the shoe culture have infiltrated our industry. They might have came from different industries, and they're analytic, but they can they can tell you about a number, but they can't tell you about the culture or why that number is there.
Yeah.
So I've been around long enough to see the shifts and understand why people are successful and other people aren't, you know, because I remember working for Skechers I worked for Skechers for so long, and Robert Greenberg, he always said that I am a marketing company that sells shoes, you know, and he knows what his market is. And I remember one time I was like, man, I want to do this, do that. And he was just like, Dallas, I'm not worried about you. I want your kids.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of what Skechers was that, because he was literally, he didn't care what I was, kids my age at that time.
Yeah.
He was like, I want to get your little kids. I want to get the moms and the dads into buying the shoes for the kids.
Yep.
And then they grow into the brand.
Yep.
And now I got the next generation.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you learn a lot in this industry by just listening and executing against what you listen to and how you process it.
Yeah.
A lot of people just talk to be talking and raising their hand, and that's just never been my thing.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been like, let me get where the company's going, let me understand. And then sometimes you just got to step back and be like, these motherfuckers are crazy.
It's like, I'm just going to let you hang yourself.
Yeah.
Like, man.
Here's this shoe. How's
got
your
it.
shoe selling, Dallas? Because I'm not listening to none of you crazy.
Y'all got it. Y'all go ahead. Y'all got it.
Yeah.
Well, I want to stay into like the independent startup and independent space, but you did make a stop at Fila and Skechers, I think, after that, right?
No, so what happened was I got hired by Fila, and one of my old heads at Skechers, he was over there, and he said, "Hey, I want you to come interview." And I was like, "Oh, I start work next week." He's like, "Don't worry about that. Just come interview. If you don't like it, you got a free trip to the beach and everything." So I went and got on the flight. And the day I was supposed to start at Fila, I was interviewing. Oh my God. And Fila is
sick on the first day?
Yeah.
He called in quit on the first day.
Dude, Fila's calling me and I'm just and I'm like looking at the beach and I'm looking at how cool Skechers, and most people think Skechers is this or that. Skechers is very advanced. They have a lot to grow, and that's why they are who they are. But so all day I didn't get to talk to the president, talk to everybody else. So I'm sitting there and the sun is going down and I'm looking out the window. The sun's going down on Manhattan Beach off the ocean. And the owner comes in and he goes, "So do you like it here?" He's Jewish guy, old Jewish guy, love him to death. So I'll stop the accent. But he's like, "You like it here?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, take him downstairs, sign him up."
Just like that.
Just like that. And I started my Skechers career.
Did you ever return the call to Fila?
Oh, I did the next day.
Wow. And how'd that go?
Dude, I was wild back then. I didn't have no etiquette. I used to do stupid stuff all the time. It didn't go very well.
Wow.
They almost threatened legal action. They was like, "Well, I hope that." I was like, "I'm sorry. I'm taking this job. Sorry. Well, I hope that legal is okay with your apology," or something he said like that. And I was like, "Oh, well, see." And about, I'd say 6 months later, they closed down anyway. So
damn,
That's crazy.
Wow.
That reminds me of I don't know if you remember Army Shin?
Yeah. Of course.
He did something like that. Oh, my bad. I just put you on blast. He had a job at Rubbermaid in like Cleveland or something, somewhere in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And obviously he was waiting for this Nike job. You know, Nike moves slow on the HR.
Yeah.
And I think like by Friday of his first week, they called him and he was just like,
I'm
gone.
I'm out.
Sorry. Yeah. It's like these little plastic cups are cool. But I'm about to go draw shoes. It's crazy. So Skechers, you worked, I think you told me before you worked on some of the sub brands, right? Like Mark Echo and was it the skate brand?
No, the skate
division?
brand was after. That was my brand after. I worked on 310 Motoring. 310
Motoring,
was, it was a big car company out here. They customized cars, and we did shoes with them. And then I worked on Unlimited, which was Mark Echo's brand.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
Geez, I know I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, just inline stuff.
Cool.
Regular inline stuff.
And that and once you were done there, you started your own brand. So did some of the experience from Skechers launching these sub brands push you into that space?
Yes.
And when you launched Protege, right?
No, first was Black Sheep.
Black
It was
Sheep.
the skateboard brand, and that was real cool because Stevie Williams he had DGK. He was on fire at the time. Him and Kareem Campbell, who had City Stars. They helped me. They helped me get a skate team, which was Anthony Mosley and his guys. And we got into Champs, I believe it was. We were in the windows at Champs.
Wow.
in our first release. So
In the window. Wow.
In the window. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, we were able to grow very fast, and it was actually Skechers made a few calls to help us with that.
Oh, cool.
As far as helping us get our marketing situation, because back then you had to be in magazines.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they really helped understand how to work that magic. So I was always
dope.
grateful for that.
That's dope.
But the problem is we came out right before they started Nike SB. So once Nike SB hit, it was like,
Yeah, it was
Kill
over.
job.
yeah, because that's basically what we were doing. We were doing multicolored stuff and plaids and all kinds of stuff.
And Nike threw a ton of money at that, obviously.
Oh man,
and
we were. It was over. Plus, we released too much. That's another lesson for entrepreneurs. Find the core of what your business is. Sure, you can make 12. I mean, what do we make? Sure, you can make 8 shoes.
Yeah,
But if you make 8 shoes, 3 to 4 are not going to sell. Maybe 5.
Right.
Now you got inventory.
Right.
Can't move that inventory around for them. You got to pay them money, give them money back.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it can put you out of business instantly. So if you're starting a brand, like when Jerry started his brand was not as big as it was. You know, and now it's grown to where but that takes time.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. You have to scale at a pace
Yes.
that makes sense, right? And not overextend yourself
Right.
too much in the beginning, and really keep in mind your burn and how you're spending and what you're spending that against in terms of your product development and the
Right.
products. Like you said, makes more sense to probably keep your SKU count down, get those products out in the market, build some buzz, and really invest into the marketing, get the people that and then grow from there. So yeah, I think that's great advice.
What do you learn from creating your own brand or your own product that you don't learn when you're just at a brand and it's like you have a singular focus and job to do and just don't worry about that other stuff. We'll take care of that. And when you go out to do your own thing, when you build Black Sheep or Protege, you can talk about Protege some more if you want. What's the difference in here you have this to do versus now you have everything to do?
Well, I think what happens is you allow more of what the culture, when it's your brand, how you see the culture is what you can influence and put into the product. Whereas some companies may not want to go into the molded business right now because they don't feel it works with where they're going as a company or their story. So you get a lot more of an opportunity to put yourself out there. And in case in point, when you have an Omar, a Virgil, a Jerry, people like that, what ends up happening is you get to see, they see it, you guys see it a certain way, and you see it from maybe it was something you saw in a music video, or maybe it was something you saw in a car. It could be anything. So it's more of an essence of what you believe the consumer wants.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're at a company, the first thing you start with is a brief.
Yeah.
And so that automatically limits you. Well, not me, because I don't have any briefs. I haven't had any briefs for the last 3 years. So that's why I think I've had some success.
Yeah.
So, case in point, we have a shoe that I did where it's Kyrie's logo is basically the shoe. Mm-hmm. And their thought process was just like how Nike is. It's Nike shoe. Mm-hmm. So big swoosh and then little logo on the heel or on the tongue. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, if we're really going to ground into the consumer that this is Kyrie's brand, which it is, his brand inside of Anta, then the logo itself needs to be the star. Yeah. Just like when you buy a Jordan product,
exactly.
Jumpman is the star.
Yep.
Oh man, I got I got in trouble for that.
But
it worked.
It worked.
So,
I mean, it was the right thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
but it was from my thought process of growing up and watching the swooshes fall off of Jordan product. It was from my thought process that you know how we see Kyrie and how we see athletes, the logos being so small,
Right.
there's no presence on
Right.
on the athlete of his or her logo.
Right, right.
So what I wanted to do with that particular shoe, was make sure that because most people over here don't know Anta,
Right.
but they know Kyrie.
Yeah.
So if we can keep grounding that logo in, which was like one of the platforms in the beginning of our campaign with him, with the logo popping up everywhere and
Yep.
paintings and stuff like that.
Yep.
It works. Our shirts had to have big logos on it.
Yep.
It
Yep.
works, and you start connecting. with it.
Reinforce that message, right? That's there. Yeah.
and give Kyrie that ownership.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, no, I got in trouble.
It's all good, bro.
No, all good.
It wasn't bad trouble, but
You worked with Master P.
Make them say,
his favorite thing. Hey,
Did you watch the verses?
You're not working, man. You're not working. Yeah, I did. I watched the verses. I was like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was
to
dope.
see people
Yeah.
doing their thing. Yeah.
So you did the P. What was that line
What'd you-
called? Was
what-
it the P,
P
was it P
Miller?
Miller? It was P Miller. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
I
P
remember
Miller.
that. Was this one? This is when he was in the league, or when he was playing like
Trying to
basketball?
play
When he was
the-
still
yeah.
hooping, right?
I don't.
Was he
think
playing
I
with
think
the
he wore
Charlotte Hornets yet?
Nike with the Charlotte.
Okay.
Hornets.
So this was later.
Yeah, Toronto. I think is when he was.
Okay.
Might have been wearing P. That was the second
Okay.
try.
Okay.
Was Toronto, but this stuff was more for discount. It was
Gotcha. It was value. It was value
yeah, sorry,
product.
Discount's a bad word. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it was
Yep.
value product. So
Yep.
it was in, a different retail chain.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and P had Chucky Atkins from the Lakers, DeMar DeRozan while he was in high school, and Little Romeo. They were wearing stuff.
Was this before Steph did his with Stephen Barry's or after?
Yeah, this was before.
This was before. So P was the first one.
Yeah.
Then to really do this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it was like Elijah one.
Oh yeah, and then Ewing's.
Yeah,
Ewing's.
it was quite a few
Yeah,
people.
there
that
was-
did.
Give
they
us so we were talking about our list of people. He has a pretty dope list.
I was reading on the back of his new book that you can get. No.
I appreciate that.
Your list is Shaquille O'Neal,
Yeah,
the N1 Ballers.
yeah.
I mean, as a group, that's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Wow. Percy Miller,
Yeah.
government name.
I didn't say that.
Master V. Who else?
Oh man, Sean Merriman. Oh man, I'd have to pull my phone out and actually look at the list.
Shaq, right?
Yeah, Shaq was in
Shaquille
there.
O'Neal.
I was on the Adidas Kobe team. I was part of that team. Didn't get to really design as much as I got to learn. It's been a lot.
Kai, Clay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kai. I'd have to.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
list.
And
That's a lot.
then I get kind of
Skateboarders.
weird.
Yeah.
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 Well, I want to
Skateboarders.
talk about. Well, let's go to the protege thing because I think that's
Al
really
Harrington,
important.
Steven
Al
Jackson.
Harrington, yeah, that
Yeah.
was. I mean, that was that, and I remember that vividly because that was after Stephon Marbury for sure.
Yeah.
When they did that, and that was when I felt like this movement was like really starting, where like athletes were thinking about like how do I leverage my own likeness and build a brand around it. So what was that experience like? How did that happen? Who reached out to you? When give us a little bit of context on that.
No, that was really fun. Al Harrington and a guy named Rodney, they came together and they formed the company, and they had been playing around with the concept in the company for like a year.
Yeah.
And I forgot where. I think I had just left Skechers. Yeah, I had just left Skechers for the second or third time. I don't know. And they reached out to me, and we basically sat down, and they told me what they wanted to do and what our mission was going to be. And I dove right in. And I think where Al was very good which he's still a great businessman. He realized that he could do a lot more with the NBA. as a partner, not a partner financially, but a partner and business partner. So we would go to like, the line was only for Kmart's and Sears. It was exclusive to them.
Okay.
And so we would do things like go out and have clinics in the parking lots. And the NBA brought their trucks in, which was really cool.
Oh, that's dope.
The hoops, and then we worked a little bit with Fat Joe. Did a signature two signature sneakers, I believe, for him.
Add that to the list.
Yeah, but that was a lot of fun. Like I was the only designer for the 6 years that it was, and it wasn't because I wanted to be. It was, but people think that just because you have a brand and it's out there that you got millions of dollars and you can hire people. No, that's not it. The first 3 years, we got to pay everybody back.
And you want to keep that shit lean, right?
Yeah,
really. Keep it as lean as possible.
And it was smaller when it first started. It was only about 5 shoes. By the time it was over, it was like 18, 20-something shoes.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting, it's my company, so I'm like sitting there doing whatever I want, whenever I want. And
so did Al have outside investors also as well who came in on it?
Yeah.
Smart.
And Al was also, Al and Rodney, something that they were very savvy about was they had the ability to listen and work with companies like BET and ESPN. We had commercials, 60 and 30-second spots there. We had, like I said, the NBA in our parking lots. And we also had Sears, which owned Kmart. They were a great partner because they even started putting money in to help.
That's incredible. And Al was still in the league, right?
Yeah,
he's still playing for the Pacers? Was it the Pacers, Indiana he was or something like that?
No, I think at that time he was in New York. Yeah, he was a New York Knick.
Okay.
Because we had a big billboard on the side of Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, and he had deals with Kmart. He said Kmart?
Yeah, it was Kmart
and Sears.
Well, Sears owned Kmart.
And then he had a partnership with the league while he was still playing.
Yeah,
that's so dope, bro. Like, cause like I work with a ton of athletes also as well, and like it's sometimes it's like pulling teeth getting these cats to do anything. So the fact that like Al was like kind of manipulating with his partner things the way that they were and how strategic they were about it. Like while he was playing, I can't even get a player to answer the fucking phone like during the season when they're playing because they just use, I'm at practice. I can't do this. I can't do that. Right. And the fact that these dudes are wheeling and dealing like this while he's playing in the league, and he was still like a more than a serviceable player at that point. He was a beast.
Sure. Yeah.
No, Al was very excited about, and that's the thing. I've dealt with a lot of athletes. And the one thing that I always saw and understood is the ones who understood that this is my business.
Yeah.
Because I know how grueling an NBA season can be because I've seen it happen, with many athletes.
Yeah.
But there's some that really, truly understand and want to grow their business. And then there's some that's just getting a check. Yeah. And then there's some that it's just a vanity project.
Yeah.
That feels like the vast majority to me from my but I'm with you though. I'm with you.
Yeah, a lot of it is they want the business, but they don't know how to grow the business.
Right.
So they kind of, they want to be a part of the creative side, but the business side they kind of shy away from. And that's just like if you went to go play for an NBA team and didn't know how to read playbooks and things of that nature.
Right.
For sure.
You would just want to jack up.
You thought it was just picking up a basketball, right?
But what you need, but in that case, what needs to be done, at least like I said from my experiences, this is where you need to hire smart people around you and actually pay them what they're worth, right?
That part.
Not like that part. That's what's most important. Paying them what they are worth, not because like you're a big NBA superstar or athlete and you should be happy to be working for me because I'm who I am. Like that shit don't matter at the end of the day. It's like that's not paying my bills.
That's like the GM being win me that chip and then I'll give you your money.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, don't work that way. So I think a large part of it too is failure comes, and it's not just athletes. It's anyone who's trying to cut a corner on the team that you need to build around you to help lead you where you're going. And it sounds like Al Harrington and his partner were very well aware.
Yeah,
of that.
We were all partners. We all from the design aspect. I even did some of the clothes, but then we went out and we got with a company and licensed out the clothes.
Yeah.
And so then we had the opportunity to sit there and pick the clothes properly.
Yeah.
And then, like I say, when Rodney and Al were dealing with the NBA never put a dime in or anything.
Yeah.
but partnering it meaning like the exposure and
Well, this is what gets Sears and Kmart to say yes about doing deals.
Right.
What NBA is partnered with you. Wow. Like
More doors.
That's going to get you more doors, and that's going to keep the conversation going.
Right.
So that was strategic and very smart on his part to leverage that.
yeah. And Al, like I said, Al was very involved in the product.
Yeah.
Like he knew everything that was going out.
Yeah.
Kyrie is like the same way. Kyrie knows and sees everything, and Kyrie, like Al, is not afraid to say, no, that ain't coming out.
Yeah, no, that's true.
ain't-
Yeah,
that
I
ain't-
know a little.
you know.
I know Kyrie just a tiny bit. I spent a little bit of time with him. Yeah.
You know, Kyrie-
And J.O.'s another one who understood
man.
it too. He understood it too.
yeah.
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 'Cause I know you did some stuff with J.O. I did some stuff with J.O. as well.
Well, my partner Rodney, they were doing some stuff.
Got you. Yeah.
Denim stuff.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I first met him though when he came to Adidas because he was playing for Portland. He was like 18
right.
years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, when because
Yeah.
he got drafted as out of high school.
He did.
Yeah,
He was one of the
J.O.
last ones.
Yeah,
Yep.
yep.
So that was the first time I met him.
No, I'm tripping.
He was one of the first.
No,
ones.
no,
Well,
he was one of
Gerald
the-
one of the first
Dawkins.
ones.
Well,
Sorry, he's one of the-
LeBron was
LeBron's
after.
the last one,
LeBron
but,
was the
like,
last
He was one
one.
of the. He's one of the first ones in that little era, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
because he was like around the time KG, right? Like KG,
Yeah.
and then him.
KG went right before him, and
Yep,
yeah.
and then he came.
Darius
out, yeah.
Miles, I think. No,
Was
I
it-
think Darius.
Yeah, Darius was high school. Darius
Okay,
came
yeah.
out of high school.
Okay.
Yep.
But-
Wow, man,
Kobe.
we going back.
All right, so you've had a ton of experiences from faxing your designs to now working with Anta, and I know that tech has evolved, and a lot of the design team over there is using AI, right? So as a designer, talk about like just the tools that we've had to use in different eras since you've been through it all, and like what are maybe some of the downfalls you're seeing, some of the benefits you're seeing of the way things have evolved.
That's a good question.
It's interesting that right when Illustrator started, it was always hand sketches and markers and Prismacolor and
Yeah.
blending and all that.
God, yeah.
Yeah, it was a nightmare if you really didn't go to school to learn it. I can tell you that much. I got dogged out. The shading is off. I don't care. I never understood why you going. So anyway, right before Illustrator hit, there was a rumbling that this kind of drawing the computer type of situation was coming.
Yeah.
So when it hit, I took it upon. It took me 3 years to learn it by myself. But none of the other guys, and there were some very talented guys in the industry, none of them wanted to learn it. They thought it was a fad.
Yep, it's not going to last. Nope.
We lost a ton of good black designers because they would not.
They wouldn't conform.
No, they wouldn't conform. So Illustrator was big, and then along comes the goggles and the 3D.
Yep. The tablets. Remember the tablets?
the
Drawing on the
tablet.
tablets.
I
the
never-
Wacom's. Yeah.
Wacom.
Yeah, I hated the Wacoms.
Yeah.
I learned how to do it, but I stayed on Illustrator.
Yeah.
The Wacom used to drive me crazy because I couldn't get used to the process of how you're drawing, and then you
Yeah.
got to click over here and bring this
Yeah.
over here. Like in Illustrator, I can just.
It wasn't very intuitive. I didn't like it either.
I didn't like
Yeah.
it. But when
Yeah.
when the goggles came along, the VR goggles, that's my favorite. I do
Yeah?
that.
Yeah. Gravity Sketch?
Yeah, Gravity Sketch and what's the other program? You know what? They're not paying me, so. So yeah, I fell in love with. I do it like all through my career, even if I wasn't working. Like when I was doing a lot of consulting, that'd be a few months here, or at one point that was a year. I draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not getting paid.
Yeah, I draw.
And that's another thing that guys got to understand. Even if you're not getting paid,
You need to keep drawing.
keep the pen on the paper.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
real
Facts.
talk. Because-
Perfect practice makes perfect. That's what I
Definitely.
like to tell people, man.
Definitely.
100%, bro.
No, and just it keeps your heart in the game.
Yeah.
I know.
And if you love it, that's what you're doing.
That's what you're supposed to be
That's
doing
what you're supposed to
anyway.
be doing.
Thank you.
That's what, yeah.
So, I'm at home, and it's like I tell my guys, I'm like, you guys, I don't care if you're just sitting there. It's got to be a scrap of paper around you or something.
Something.
Just
Start
really,
drawing.
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. I
like
agree.
So I do that, and sometimes I'm sitting at home and I'll put the goggles on and I'll just work on things. And then when it's time for us to have a presentation, I have so much stuff that I've already got backlogged.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
I kind of know where we're going forward and how we're going forward from where we are and where we've been.
Yep.
So yeah, you have to keep yourself going.
100%. And you're capturing moments in time when you have ideas and things like that in your head, because that might not come back to you, right? Later.
Right.
So it's like, get this out now and expand upon it.
Thank you.
Yeah, 100%. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to. Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So after that came AI. I was totally against AI because I didn't understand what it was. I just had people telling me, yeah, you type this in and then it'll do this and it'll do that. And I was just like, so for the first couple of months or so, I stayed away from it. Meanwhile, Matt and those guys were diving heavy in on it. And plus my workload was so crazy at that point too. But then when I started using it and I realized that you have to start with something first.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people didn't understand.
Right.
We had salespeople so wait, I can just type the brief in?
And then it does everything for me.
That's what I was
still
getting at.
have
That's
to
what
do
I was
work.
getting at with the questions. Is what do you feel like is there anything missing from these new tools? Every time a new tool comes in, it's just I think people are adverse to it at first because well, the soul's being taken out of this, out of what I do. With AI, do you feel like that's happening and with the shift that's happening? Or is it just a tool for you to get off your idea a little bit better?
It's totally a tool because there'll be times that the AI generator can't nail exactly what I want.
Yep.
So then I have to take bits and pieces from each generated AI thing and maybe take them back into Illustrator or Photoshop or whatever, chop them up, bring them back over, run it through. It's not just...
Yeah.
Not only that, the speed at which AI is moving is way faster than the speed of construction and production.
Yep.
The factory still needs you to do the other AI, Adobe Illustrator file,
Right.
so they understand what they need to make.
Right.
Yep.
They can't just AI the shoe into real life.
Yeah.
If that's the next step, then cool, but that's not where we're at.
Well, that's kind of a reason why I liked Gravity Sketch too, because you're drawing in 3D and then you send the file over, they just print it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that to me helped a lot because I was able to cut a lot of time off of what we do.
Yep.
Because I'm sending you over a full file and you're giving me this model and I'm just like, that's it.
Yeah.
But that never really works out. That
It's never that simple.
it's never that simple. But at least you got an idea and at least you got an idea.
You have a
and
place to
base.
start from.
Yeah.
100%.
So they're all tools.
Yeah.
You can't. One doesn't really, work without the other. I mean, Illustrator, like he just said, you can draw it, but you still have to give a tech packet or even a blueprint that's in Illustrator form.
Yeah.
So the industry, like you said, is not caught up to AI.
Yeah. AI is not going to replace the effort that you have to put in. You still have to do that and just use it as a paintbrush to illustrate what it is that you're trying to create. Use it as a tool, like you said.
Yeah. You touched a few times on Kyrie. I'd love you to elaborate on what it's been like working with Kyrie. Take us into his mind, how he sees product, what his vision is for his brand.
The thing about Kyrie that he's a very misunderstood by a mass type of guy. Even when we first got him, I was like, what am I getting into? Because I've dealt with a few loose cannons.
Yeah.
But when you get with him first and foremost and see how much of a family man he is,
100%.
When you see how creative he is, and he does have this protective barrier, like any other athlete,
As he should.
of his caliber, as he should, But he is truly one of my favorite. I think my favorites that I've worked with was Dr. J, Shaq.
Oh shoot, you left him off though. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I don't really like talking to him.
The list is just turned into a bag. Right now. Okay, going deep. Okay.
But he's very personable, and when he's in a room, he's not in the room by himself. He is scanning, he's looking, he's reading the people, reading the room, and if he sees somebody falling short in the conversation, he'll try and pull them in. So it's been great working with, and he respects the creativity. even if he doesn't like it, he's just not gonna not let you know why he doesn't like it. Because I remember, I'm not gonna say the shoe, but it was a shoe that I did, and he like was just tearing not the shoe apart, but the concept of what we were doing apart. And I remember just sitting there next to him, and he didn't know I did the shoe. Yeah. And I was like, when he broke and when he took a pause, I was like, I'm gonna cry in the car, man. And he stopped, and he stopped, and he stopped, and he was just kind of like, no, but you understand where I'm coming from. Whereas most athletes would be like, I don't care. Like, I just
I mean, he's giving you an opinion. He's not a wall.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's amazing.
Yeah,
yeah.
I've had the Shaq is very, very much into even in the earlier stages of his career, because we got him with Dunk.net full time on the footwear side. He's very into what's going on, what's going out there with his name on it.
Yeah,
that was very important to him, which is why you see some guys, they have signature shoes, and then when it's over, they're done.
Yeah.
And then you look at it, the other guys like the Shaqs, the Kobes, the Michael Jordans, they understood it was a business.
Right. Yep.
And they treated it as a business.
Yep.
And they grew it as a business.
Yep.
Even if they had a company with them, like, Michael had Jordan, but he had the Howard Whites and the Tinker Hatfields.
Yeah.
A lot of athletes don't respect it. They just say, I like that one, and give me my shoes in crazy colors, and then we're done.
Yeah.
And they're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know you want to get into giving advice to younger designers. This is what you're always doing. What's something you would say to that degree of like Kyrie giving you feedback, him not necessarily knowing that it's yours? I've had people tear down my shoes. We've all read the comment sections, whatever, what have you. Talk about having thick skin as a designer.
Oh my God! Look, it's like I equate it to how I feel about myself. I may not be the best looking guy in the room, but I'm certainly not the ugliest. I'm certainly not the ugliest. And that's the way I function, and that's how I roll. So it's the same thing with my product. It ain't the best looking product in the room, but it certainly ain't the worst. Because man, thick skin is a must. And it's not a matter of just sitting there and taking insult after insult, but it's an understanding of why this person said this.
Yeah.
It's I read comments sometimes, and it's the dumbest thing in the world. It'll be like, it looks like the New Balance PG.
It looks like the Yeezys,
shit, bro.
It looks like the Yeezys must just be stuck in people's phones.
Oh man, yeah. That's an automatic reply for a lot of
auto reply.
Yeah. Or my favorite is, it looks like the Jordan 11.75 and then you go, and sometimes I go and I look and I see like, the only thing that these two shoes have in common is they're red, black, and white.
The color. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's like, so
I can't stand that.
I can't stand that shit either, bro.
But I've been it'll be 31 years.
Okay.
As of February, so I've taken my beatings, and I don't care as much because I look at why people say it. If I see it's a very common thing, looks like Yeezys.
Yeah.
If I see that, that very common thread, I automatically start tuning out.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's no substance to it. It's just one guy saying what one guy saying, what one guy saying.
Yeah.
But if I see the fire emojis or the trash emojis too much, I kind of dive in. But for the most part, what you guys got to realize is, I already cashed that check. So. I like it or love it.
I love it.
I told somebody that one day. They were like, how do you deal with, criticism about your designs or whatever? Be like, I get paid either way.
That's right.
No,
today was a payday. In another 2 weeks, there'll be another one.
Today's Friday, right?
No,
I tell young designers, I was like, look, if in design reviews or something like that, forget the comment section for a minute.
Yeah.
I always say, like, you're still the author. Yeah. So if a marketing person or the factory needs you to change something, they're asking you to change it. They're not changing it for you. They're asking you to change it. They have their reasons why. And when you're done changing it, because today it appeals to you, but when you're done, it's now at least it's gonna appeal to the person that's asking you to change it. Now they're happy, and now 2, 4, 8, 16 people are happy, and that means more. The goal here is, like you said, it's a business. The goal here is to sell more shoes to more people.
Yeah.
So just keep in mind that, like, you're still the author at the end of the day of this thing that needs to appeal to more people. You can't just keep it for yourself.
Exactly. You have to humble yourself and turn up your passion, because, like I tell guys all the time, it's easier to make an NBA basketball team than it is to make a like an
Signature
Adidas
shoe or
design
something,
team
Yeah.
or a Nike design team. There's only about 15 to the most.
Yeah.
Those, 8 to the most.
And that's
those
facts.
people.
That's true.
And there's like 50. Not to discredit what basketball players go through to get there.
Yeah.
But it is not easy to sit in the chairs that we sit in.
No.
So the reality of the situation is, first and foremost, you're blessed there. So that humility you have to understand. And you also have to, I tell guys all the time too, you're only as good as your last shoe. Yeah. You can have like 8 good shoes in a row. You have one bad shoe.
Yep.
And
It could be a wrap.
Trash. He's trash. Get him out of here.
So you have to stay humble to keep your guard up and keep your skin thick, but you have to really stay humble to how blessed you are to A, be able to sit in that seat, B, be able to make something that thousands or millions of people have gravitated towards.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the craziest thing I think in the world to me, is that I didn't make something that like, my neighborhood, like when I was making T-shirts, airbrushing T-shirts
Exactly,
and jeans, in Chicago, I made something that I can go overseas and see it in the store
on people's
Yeah.
feet.
and see it on people's feet.
That's huge.
Yeah. So
Yeah, man.
I had to come to that, and you have to come to that humility, because it's not about I did that and rah. Because like I said, the next shoe may be a bomb, a flop, and
Yeah.
you're out of there. So I think that's been a key to my success, is that I understand and respect what I've been able to do over the span of my career that has worked.
Yeah.
And what has failed, I've had a couple of failures. There was, Master P wanted me to put a bunch of money on a shoe, and it was smell like a car freshener or something like that. I don't know. But I had a couple of duds and Skechers. I mean,
It happens.
It does happen. But what you can't do is you can't say, oh, that was just a bad shoe. You have to analyze what went wrong.
And learn from it.
Yeah, because sometimes it's actually not the design. It may be the costing and the retailer that it went to. It had no business there.
Yeah.
So you have to learn that as well.
Right.
And a lot of this too is based upon business. You have a shoe that's $130 and you have an athlete's royalty attached to it, and you have the back end of how much you're going to make the company on each shoe, which is called our margins. If you're not cognizant of the fact that this is a business, like, it's like back in the day, we used to get artists and they'd put 20 songs on one CD.
Yeah.
And we thought this was the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
The record company was like, you idiot, that's 2 albums.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's 2 albums.
Yeah.
And then the artist started figuring out, dang, I got a 3-album deal and I just gave 2 albums away.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is a business, and you are a part of a business that you have to honestly and truthfully, you have to know it and you have to grow with it. You can't just keep drawing forever.
So that sounds like, to me, that's a great lesson for any young person or anyone in general looking to get into shoe business or business in general. And that's, beyond just sort of you drawing shoes and designing them or products, is understand the business that you want to get into as well, all aspects of it and how it impacts the thing that you're trying to do.
That's the most important, because I got guys that come to me and they say, I'm going to start this brand and blah, blah, blah. And the first thing I say to them is, okay, so what's your trademark look like?
Yeah.
And they're like, what? I'm like, don't come back to me until you have a trademark. Because I'm not going to invest my time and my effort into helping you build something that you may not be able to own.
Right.
So whenever people come to me, the first thing I say is, I'll help you, but what's your trademark look like? Okay, now that you got your trademark, what's your distribution going to be?
Yeah.
Have you looked at how to sell products on the platforms that you're going to be on?
Yep.
How much money are you going to have to invest in that? Because that takes away from the money you have to invest in the product, getting the product made.
Exactly.
And I'm very anal about that because I don't want what happened. It's happened to me before.
Yeah.
I had a line with Fanatics in the NBA, and then we're off to running, and it's going crazy because we brought back balling, and it was off and running.
Yeah.
And there was a trademark dispute.
Yeah.
So it ruined everything.
Yeah.
And I was literally just done. And it just so happened that Anta called, and I was like, okay, I'll get back into footwear. Because I didn't want to get back into footwear.
Yeah.
I didn't. Unless I was at Adidas, because you guys were making all that noise over there. I was like, but Adidas was like, okay, your first call will be here. And then in 2 more weeks, You're going to talk to a person who's going to tell you who to talk to in 2 more weeks. And I was like, I got shoes named after me at that company. It's like, I can't.
Oh shoot, we gotta talk about that. You pulled off the magic trick twice. You have shoes named after you at 2 different companies.
That's right.
Yeah.
Adidas and Puma.
Adidas and Puma. Pony. I think
Pony?
it was Pony.
How'd you pull that? Because you
Or was it Puma? Pony, Puma, I don't know. No, I think
people
it was
at the
Puma.
company are quick to tell you it's not your logo on the shoe. You gotta change it.
So Adidas happened because when I got to Adidas, I had a certain set amount of shoes that you do a year.
Yeah.
And I wasn't with that because I wasn't learning. If you do 4 shoes a year, I really wasn't learning. So I would go over to development and I would ask those guys, can I get a bottom? Because we had a sewing place downstairs in the building. Can I get a bottom? And can I, kind of mess around and fix things? And it just so happened that a shoe that I was working on the side on, I think his name was Mitch Brapson. He was like in charge of development. And so he would help me and teach me things. Him and his brother, I believe, would help me in teaching. Then Rob Purvey came along and they would teach me. And so the shoe was made, the sample was made, and everybody was like, okay, the sales team was like, we can sell this.
Yeah.
So because they were projects that I worked on, they just had my name tagged on it, the Stokes Mid.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That was the naming convention. They didn't have because it wasn't a brief, right? You were just creating this, so it was like,
right.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. And so it just got through the system. It squeaked through the system.
Wow, that's
And
dope.
ended up
Once again,
There we go. And you did it twice.
well, the second time, I believe that was at Puma. Which one was in Brockton, Massachusetts? I think that was Puma. Yeah, it was Puma. Air Force One was just killing.
Yeah.
It was just beginning its
Reemergence.
Yeah, reemergence. And so the guy comes in, I think his name was Tony Bertone or something like that. He was like, I think in marketing or something. And he was like, what do you think of this? And he put it on my desk and it was like kind of Air Force One-ish. And I was like, man, get that out of there. And he was like, just for that, I'm going to name it the Dallas. And I was like,
That's how you. So he just tortured you with the shoe that you didn't like.
I didn't know it was out for a long time. I didn't know it was out.
Oh, and then
I didn't know it was out.
that's funny.
That's
I didn't know it
hilarious.
was out. But
That's
I'll
funny,
take the win.
Hey.
Let's see, Massachusetts, Denver, Portland, now Los Angeles,
Little Miami in there for a while.
Miami.
Wow.
Where have you most enjoyed being in the footwear industry?
Here.
In LA?
Yeah.
Yeah, LA is, I was in the nightclub business out here. I was able to meet a lot of great business people and celebrities and athletes. And Chicago is always my home, but this is definitely my second home.
Yeah.
Like I know where to go here. I know where to be, where not to be.
Yeah, you were part of Dublin's, right?
Yeah, Dublin's
Dublin and
Excess.
And you use that to bring sneakers and bring celebs to Skechers and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we had 310, I would give the shoes. This was before I got into the club business. I would take the 310 shoes and I would give them to the bouncers. And then the promoters are like, where'd you get those? So then the bouncers would be like, from him. Then I'd give them to the promoters. And then the owners would be like, where'd you get those? And then I would give the shoes to the owners. So then I got in good with the owners.
Yep.
Got you.
Yep.
And that's kind of what flourished it. And then we're all in there with it on, and the celebrities come by.
Yeah.
And we're like, where'd you get those? Got them from him.
You became that guy real quick.
It was like,
Yeah.
When you seeding product, so that in turn led to people that would never even think that Skechers was what it was, because they don't understand there's so many. So at that time there was a lot of sub brands.
Yeah.
So I was able to use a lot of that product to help build,
Yeah.
My situation up in LA.
Yeah.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
I love that.
Any other advice to someone getting into this industry right now that you have?
Honestly, I think we touched on a lot of it
Yeah.
because I don't want to drag it out.
Yeah.
And there was a good portion in there we talked about it. But like I said, just understand that a business is a business, and know your business.
Yep.
Knowing your business does not mean you know how to draw, you know how to design. Knowing your business means, like, I don't know how many times we sit in these companies and somebody might throw out a name or put something on a shoe, and then we get deep into it, and then legal steps in.
Yeah.
And legal's like, you can't use that name.
Yep.
And or you can't use that shape. So I would say that's the most important thing. Know the business, learn the business.
Yep.
Don't sit around and just come in 3 hours a day and draw and maybe get a shoe out and think that,
That's it.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
No, you talk to, I've had a lot of success in my career because I go talk to the sales team and I figure out, what's hot here or what's projected here. You talk to your color and materials people, find out what's trending. You put all that, but then a lot of it that I think that I get is organically as well because, I have kids all the way that are adults. So I go down the whole spectrum down to 11 years old, from 29 to 11. So I'm able to stay current by looking at what they look at.
Yeah.
So when the superhero rush came in, started coming in, the Marvel rush started coming in, I would even look so far as to what shoes were on Spider-Man on the video games or in the movies, or what colors or how Marvel was doing costumes, because they're going to watch this over and over again.
Yeah.
Or I stay on the internet, and I'm not just on the internet trying to see if, whatever people use the internet for, what I'm saying?
Watching reels.
I'm watching reels.
Yeah.
I'm literally on there watching how, a rapper is wearing his clothes.
Yep.
Because that's what the kid's gonna see.
Yep.
So now I'm thinking, when I design the shoe, where do I place certain elements?
Yeah.
It's becoming a sponge.
Yeah.
Be intentional about your time, right?
Very
And
intentional.
how you're taking in all the information.
Very intentional. Now, don't get me wrong. I sit and send stupid memes to him at 4 o'clock.
We got to do
4 o'clock
that.
in the morning. You know what I'm saying?
We do a little scrolling. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, and you have access through the internet to go to so many places. So like, if you're a guy and you're on there and your whole feed is just women, you're not using it properly. In my eyes, personally, I think you can use it. I have women on my thing too, but I also have motorcycles and these guys that do props for movies.
Yeah.
Drawings of that stuff, and all of that stuff you just can pull stuff from all the time.
Yep.
And
100%.
artists do it too. I see music artists do it all the time. When I'm around them, they're scrolling and they're like, "Ooh, you see that?" Like,
there's inspiration everywhere.
Yeah.
inspiration is everywhere.
Yep.
It's everywhere.
Especially today.
Yeah.
Especially today. It's right on our fingertips. That's dope, man. Well, I mean, I don't know what else we got. That was incredible and amazing,
Thank you, man.
And it was an honor just like being here and sitting here and just listening to these incredible stories, some things I never even knew, but the and one stuff and everything. So we really, really, really appreciate your time, man, and you
appreciate
spending time with us.
Yeah,
I
I think
appreciate
more.
you guys having me, man.
I think
Thank
more
you.
than your career itself, just like the little bits and pieces that you learn along the way that you share with us today, can be plucked out. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of the stop, regardless of the name that you work with, there's that lesson in each one of your stops, and that's dope.
That comes from a lot of mistakes, though. A lot. I mean, like, what's that Jordan commercial where he's like, I missed all these shots. Yeah, that's a real thing. And that's, like I said earlier in the conversation, learn from your mistakes.
Yep.
You have to. Like, in everything you do, even from parenting to how you take care of your clothes. They put labels in the back to tell you not to wash it in hot water. And then when you get it on, learn from the mistakes are going to happen. And that's what I see a lot of designers, what they do is they're artists. Artists can make a mistake and erase it with a pencil, with an eraser edge. Designers, when we make mistakes, there's financial consequences.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you're only as good as your last shoe.
That's right. I think that's actually a perfect way to end it. You're only as good as your last shoe.
My
Dallas, man. Appreciate you,
Dallas,
man.
we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. I was
Thank
like,
you,
And you can
man.
come back whenever, bro.
We're gonna have to do a part
man.
2 for sure.
Yeah, we absolutely. Because
Because I feel like there's a lot. We were just scratching the surface with some things, so we're gonna have to do
Yeah.
this again.
man, anytime.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Thank you.
All right.
appreciate it.
Cool.
I'm
But
gonna
that's
get,
a
I'm gonna
wrap.
get one of these books though, right?
Yeah, heart and soul, baby.
Yeah, all
Gotta
right.
get it.
Gotta get that.
Get that. Appreciate it.
I'm like,
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We out.
Peace.